implementation of safety management. We will start with sub-item 6.2. The use of a proactive strategy for managing aviation safety risks through the implementation of the state safety programs, SSP, and safety management system, SMS, at the service provider level are essential for realizing the safe growth of aviation and are highlighted in the Global Aviation Safety Plan, GASP, as important goals to be achieved for the aviation community. I will now invite the Secretariat to present Working Paper 28 on support for effective safety management implementation, following which I'll invite Canada to present the other working paper in the batch. Secretariat, Elizabeth, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Working Paper 28 on support for effective safety management implementation suggests some areas where further work is needed to support the implementation of effective state safety programs and safety management systems in order to safely achieve the aviation system of the future. These areas include reinforcement of key safety management concepts as highlighted in the paper, the development of essential safety management competencies or capacity building, the development of mechanisms to monitor and assess the effectiveness of SSPs and SMSs, and the evolution toward an integrated approach for the management of risk. The conference is invited to agree to the recommendation 6.2/X in the paper, supporting effective safety management implementation found in paragraph 6, and to suggest other areas for future work to support effective safety management implementation. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Secretariat, for introducing the subject. I will now invite Canada to present Working Paper 117. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to present this working paper on behalf of Canada. Working Paper 117 highlights challenges that states may encounter in obtaining information on safety risk management approaches used by other states as they seek to adopt new safety risk management practices. And it also promotes increasing visibility and use of the ICAO Safety Management Implementation website as a means to reduce some of these challenges. While guiding principles to safety risk management are put forward in a wide array of literature, including ICAO Annex 19 and the Safety Management Manual, there are no standardized or universally recognized safety risk management methodology or tools for managing aviation safety within a state. States therefore either develop their own approach and tools or tailor and adopt those implemented by other states. The ICAO Safety Management Implementation website seeks to better facilitate and promote access to information on safety risk management practices in support of effective SSP implementation. Canada supports this initiative and also believes that the value and potential of the SMI website can only be fully realized by ensuring broad engagement and active contribution of member states to the website content. To that end, with this paper in section 3.2, we recommend that the Conference A request that ICAO commit to ongoing maintenance of the SMI website, including its promotion. B, that the conference encourage ICAO to add capability to navigate the website based on state or SSP activities. And C, that the conference encourage member states to contribute documentation to the SMI website. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Canada. I will now open the floor for questions, comments, and contributions on the two papers. That's WP 28 and WP 117. Singapore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Singapore would like to echo the views of ICAO and Canada expressed in Working Papers 28 and 117 respectively. The Safety Management Implementation website is a refreshing new approach by ICAO and has the potential to provide states with the most up-to-date examples of approaches taken by states and service providers in the implementation of SSP and SMS. This will certainly facilitate the implementation of SSP and SMS worldwide. To enhance the usefulness of the SMI website, Singapore would like to encourage ICAO and contributing states to share not only examples of implementation, but also the thinking and rationales behind their approaches where feasible. This will allow other states to better understand the intent and policy thinking behind the decisions made. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Singapore. I will now invite New Zealand to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. New Zealand mirrors Singapore's comments with respect to both papers, and in particular would like to endorse paper 117 presented by Canada. New Zealand sees significant potential for a revised SMI website to be able to provide ready access to information for lesser developed states in an easy manner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, New Zealand. IATA, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. IATA actively supports this work and agrees with the recommendations as brought forth in this paper by Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, IATA. I will now invite Portugal to take the floor.
Obrigado, Sr. Presidente. Portugal supports the Working Paper 28 of the Secretariat and its recommendations. At this opportunity, we would like to emphasize the need for a robust hazard identification and risk management, taking into account the evolution, sometimes rapid, of the industry and operating environments. We suggest the following other areas for the future work to be added to the recommendation. F. Urge ICAO, states, RSOO, and industry to explore more powerful methods to identify hazards and manage risk suitable for complex social technical systems such as aviation and adaptable regardless of the type of risk, security, safety, and environment, etc. G. Invite ICAO, states, and RSOO and industry to explore benefits of a unified framework for integrated risk management, safety, security, and environmental, also taking due account of how ISO management standards are evolving. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Portugal. I will now invite Mexico to take the floor.
Gracias, presidente. Buenas tardes.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. Mexico supports the Secretariat working paper and the recommendations, as well as the working paper from Canada. We think that these efforts should not just be the Secretariat sending information to member states, but perhaps it could also be possible to have regional seminars so that we can disseminate these practices correctly, so that we have appropriate implementation level in all regions and also at a global level. And we could consider this strategy to further promote what's put forward in these two working papers. Of course, this could imply some resources, but with the regional seminars, this could be carried out in an efficient way. So, as IATA said, we would suggest that the Secretariat should examine these proposals to see how we can add to what has already been proposed by the Secretariat and also Canada in its working paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mexico. Netherlands, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Netherlands supports both working papers. We are of the opinion that they both describe important developments, and in line especially with my remark yesterday concerning learning from each other, the Netherlands supports the recommendations also in working paper 117 in order to facilitate this learning from each other full-heartedly. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Netherlands. It's now the turn of Dominican Republic to take the floor. Dominican Republic.
Gracias.
Thank you, Chairman. The Dominican Republic wishes to support Working Paper 28 from the Secretariat. That's excellent. And also the Paper 117 from Canada. We have a question about this, namely the examples which we can see on the portal. It seems to be in English, or it can be accompanied by another language version, it seems. It's rather complicated, the fact that Spanish-speaking member states want to cooperate with their examples, because there's other member states who are speaking Spanish could use the same example. Because often to contribute, we have to actually provide translations. We've got lots of examples and documents in Spanish. Would it be possible to put them on the SMI? But if we want to put them on the SMI at the moment, we need to translate these into English to make them available to other member states. So we wonder if we could have a method that would make it more user-friendly for us to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominican Republic. I'll now call on Republic of Korea to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Republic of Korea supports Working Paper 28 presented by the Secretariat, suggesting additional support for effective safety management implementation by the member states. Republic of Korea especially welcomes the introduction of the concept on the integrative approach in managing the overall risk, which is essential for member states to consider for further improve the methodology to prevent the accidents. Republic of Korea also supports Working Paper 117 presented by the Canada. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. We now have Senegal and Venezuela in that order. Senegal first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to support Working Papers 28 and 117 presented by the Secretariat and Canada, respectively. I just wanted to speak to a personal experience that I went through with the National State Safety Program and the Safety Management System in 2008-2009 with the ASIP program, which was piloted at the time by Captain Belai. I think that it was a wonderful initiative that was organized in the AFI region for a relatively large group that was put together on PNS and AGS. It was a group that eventually became certified ICAO instructors. I think these are lovely initiatives that make it possible to popularize the safety systems, and I think that it would be a good idea for ICAO to take this up again as a way of popularizing safety management. I think that many of us took advantage of this. I certainly benefited from this program. I've become an ICAO certified instructor with all of the training of trainers piloted under the project. I think that this is an experience that should not be put away, far away on a shelf, but should be kept going, and that this should be used in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Senegal. Venezuela, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela supports WP 28 and 117. We believe that with this promotion strategy, more member states and industry will have the possibility of being able to overcome concerns because of this clear focus to actually improve the competencies of personnel in all the sectors and at all levels. And we want to have a PBN approach with the SMS and SSP and integration with other systems also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venezuela. We have the People's Republic of China. China.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. China strongly supports Working Paper 28. And so far, China has already carried out a lot of activities in practice, and we have achieved good results. So we fully support that working paper. In the meantime, we also support the Canadian Working Paper 117. Thank you.
Thank you very much, China. There are no more requests, so I'll now invite the Secretariat for any additional comments and clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the feedback on the paper and the proposed further work that's identified in the paper. I would just like to share with you some other activities and initiatives that ICAO has been doing. There was a mention to promoting this approach at the regional level. We have conducted since November of last year through May of this year 4 regional symposia combined with hands-on workshops. I've seen many of you here who have been in those workshops. Can I see a raise of hands? How many of you attended one of our regional symposia and workshops? Okay, so we didn't reach everybody, but it was a start. And we are planning more for next year. We have planned 5 additional workshops to be delivered next year, starting in February. And while we're doing that, we will be developing an SSP course with our Global Aviation Training section. So there are definitely initiatives, and the workshops that we plan to deliver will be tailored to the needs of the region. Okay, and all the while we're promoting the website and trying to collect more examples for the website. I would like to highlight the point made by Canada that this initiative for the SMI website will only work if we have broad contribution from all of you. So it's a repository for sharing information on practical examples and tools of how to implement effective SSPs in SMS. The other question was related to the submission of the examples. So right now, we only have the capability to receive the examples in English. In some cases, as the delegate from the Dominican Republic mentioned, the examples can be accompanied by a version in another language that we can also share through the website. But the ability to translate examples that are submitted only in another ICAO language to then be reviewed and validated, it's a budgetary limitation that we have at the moment. What I can tell you is that some of you who have seen the 4th edition of the Safety Management Manual may have noticed that there are advertisements in here. So we're selling those ads, okay? So my goal, which I still have to work on a little bit, is to channel that money back into the SMI website. And one of the areas that we can use that money for is for translation, okay? So just to get the SMI website started and to promote it and to get everybody sort of engaged in using it, I needed to prove it as a concept. And then once I've proven it as a concept, that gives me the ability to try to get funding to expand it. And part of that expansion is the translation of the examples. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretariat. So I see no hands up. So this concludes sub-item 6.2. Now I want to summarize the discussions as follows. Although the Secretariat has done a lot of work to support the implementation of SSP and SMS, further support is still needed to ensure that safety management is effectively implemented. 2, the aviation community can contribute to this work by submitting examples for sharing on the Safety Management Implementation, that is SMI website. ICAO should allocate resources for the development and maintenance of the SMI website to ensure and maintain its usefulness. ICAO should also identify initiatives tailored to each region to build safety management capacity. Another area of interest is the need to develop mechanisms to measure and monitor the effectiveness of SSP and SMS. Lastly, there's a need to develop an integrated risk management approach that can be applied broadly. Thank you very much. So we will continue now with agenda item 6.2.1, that's the state safety programs, or SSPs for short. The implementation of state safety programs required by Annex 19 safety management requires that safety management principles be institutionalized at the state level to support the proactive management of risk and the active management of safety performance. The subject has already been introduced by the Secretariat in the earlier presentation of Working Paper 28. So I'll now invite Australia to present Working Paper 77, Revision 1. Well, it's Australia and New Zealand. I think Australia will present on behalf of the two states. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to introduce Working Paper 77 on behalf of Australia and New Zealand. States and industry are experiencing significant regulatory burden due to rapid advancement of technology and efforts to reduce accident rates. It is important that ICAO develop SARPs that are sufficiently protective but not overly conservative, and prioritise development towards SARPs with the greatest potential benefit. Along with our co-sponsor, we recommend that new SARPs include a targeted risk assessment to help prioritise development work and identify the justification and cost-benefit analysis of new or amended SARPs, which will assist states' implementation of these SARPs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to introduce this paper.
Thank you very much, Australia, sorry. I'm getting exhausted, you can see. Okay, so I need to focus. It's now the turn of Brazil to present WP 134. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to present this paper on behalf of Brazil. This paper aims to present the development of regulation based on scientific assessments of the consequence of risks to society. As an example, the review of applicability of Brazilian regulation on aerodrome rescue and firefighting services is presented. Analysis show that proportional regulation can be redirected to improve compliance. No count left behind initiatives and revisions to ICAO standards and recommendation practice can benefit from this perspective. The states are invited to share the ICAO and with other contracted states similar studies and data that could support other risk assessments, include the adoption of risk-based regulation in the development and revision of FARPs, and offer support to No Count Left Behind initiative in order to develop tools to encourage the application of risk assessment techniques that could provide more proportional regulation and reduction the costs maintained on a acceptable level of risks. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Brazil, for your presentation of WP 134. I will now call on Singapore to present Working Paper 116, Revision 1, on behalf of several states, namely Austria on behalf of the EU and its member states, the other member states of the ECAC, and by Eurocontrol, Brazil, Cameroon, Canada, Colombia, Dominican Republic, New Zealand, Saudi Arabia, Singapore itself, South Africa, and IFATCA. Singapore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Singapore is privileged to have collaborated with Canada on the development of Working Paper 116. This paper reflects our mutual desire to implement the State Safety Program standards effectively and practically. As demonstrated by the co-sponsorship of this working paper by 55 member states and organizations from every ICAO region, the concept of the acceptable level of safety performance, or ALOSP, in Annex 19 needs to be revisited. This paper outlines challenges faced by states in implementing the ALOSP concept. These include lack of clarity on how the ALOSP should be expressed and how it relates to safety performance indicators and targets. Public expectations, as well as the local, cultural, and political context, can also complicate matters. There is no question that there is a need for safety performance metrics. However, noting the challenges faced by states, the paper recommends in paragraph 3.2 that the ALOSP concept be revisited by the Secretariat, taking into consideration the experience of states that have sought to implement it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Singapore. We will now invite Dominican Republic to present WP 147. Dominican Republic, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. En representación de la República.
So, the Dominican Republic wishes to present WP 147, talking about specific training on change management for the effective implementation of safety oversight. Change management helps to facilitate a successful implementation of transformative processes, so we can work with people and for people so they can accept changes and reduce resistance, and this facilitates the acceptance and assimilation of the changes which come with the new form of operating. And we're recommending that this type of training should be introduced as part of the implementation processes for the global plans of ICAO and also the technical requirements, so that we can reduce risks to a minimum as far as possible when it comes to safety. So training on change management would guarantee that we could have collaborative decision making, and also we could have a familiarization and prudent transitional phases. This means that we could be more efficient when developing and implementing the technical projects related to aviation. So we're inviting the conference to support the contents of this paper, urging states to implement change management training as a core component of project planning delivery, and we want this to be a fundamental part of the project planning phase. Moreover, we want to draft new provisions and guidance through the ICAO bodies to assist states in building capacity for change management, and finally to consolidate projects that help to improve safety through participation and collaborative decision making, and which make change management a prerequisite for success with all of these processes. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Dominican Republic. It's now the turn of Venezuela to present WP 155. And this paper is supported by the South American states. Venezuela, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, supported by the South American states, is presenting this paper, taking account of various concerns to have effective implementation of a state safety program. We are presenting a regional initiative which was approved by the SAM directors to help with reaching the regional targets by 2016. We analysed the results and the challenges and how we could reinforce the capacity of member states, and with cooperation we decided to develop an implementation pilot project that could look at model regulations and develop possible management tools which would help us to work on the SSP framework. There have been teleconferences and face-to-face meetings to exchange concerns and knowledge and experiences, and this has helped us to facilitate the setting up of the SSP in each state with the coordination of the ICAO regional office. The results of these efforts are found in 2.2 of this working paper, and the implementation pilot project was certainly a positive experience. Progress is being made, and we're acquiring experience as we move forward with this. This effort is part of No Country Left Behind. We're jointly facing our challenges as states dealing with safety so that we can meet common objectives in regional plans and in the GASP. So we're inviting member states to consider this initiative as a possible model so that there can be harmonised development of the SSP in a spirit of cooperation between the participating member states and in coordination with the ICAO regional offices. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Venezuela. We will now invite the Republic of Korea to present Working Paper 239. Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Working Paper 239, presented by the Republic of Korea, is concerning to the civil-military cooperation for effective implementation of safety management. Since the adoption of the Assembly Resolution 10-19, ICAO has been playing a significant role in promoting civil-military cooperation to improve both safety and efficiency of the international civil aviation. However, in recent years, ICAO has placed a greater attention on efficiency to meet a fast-growing demand in aerospace use. Be that as it may, we should be constantly reminded that safety is another key element that requires a close civil-military cooperation. With the state safety oversight system transition toward state safety program, collaborative activities based on safety data and safety information sharing with the military are essential for proactive safety management. Even though the jointly used aeronautical resources are managed through appropriate coordination procedures between the civil and military, unexpected new and latent hazards which could pose risk to aircraft operation could arise within the joint operation environment on account of the different objectives of the authorities concerned. This result of the investigation of Malaysia Airline Flight 17 accident called for ICAO to adopt new SARPs related to this issue. Responding to these safety recommendations, proposed SARPs on safety risk assessment and mitigation related to potentially hazardous activities by their armed conflict are under review by the ICAO. Also, existing provision on airspace safety assessment and safety data collection and processing system are related to civil-military cooperation activities for safety management. A set of action including but not limited to safety reporting, safety risk assessment, and safety culture promotion could be new items for civil-military cooperation to fully implement the safety management-related SARPs. However, owing to the possible conflicts between SARPs and non-ICAO requirements, challenges are expected in reaching a general consensus on the need for the civil-military cooperation on safety management issues in civil aviation. As such, the Republic of Korea requests ICAO to place greater attention to agendas on safety management activities related to civil-military cooperation, and to consider incorporation this issue in ICAO's key documents, such as the consolidated statement of the ICAO policies and associated practices in the Assembly resolution and the Global Aviation Safety Plan, to support the member states faced with challenges in civil-military cooperation activities. The conference is invited to agree to the recommendation in paragraph 4.2. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. That concludes our working papers in this batch. We've also noted information papers 132 presented by Brazil on cross-agency safety management implementation, the Brazilian experience. IP 164 presented by the United Arab Emirates on safe safety program implementation and maintenance. IP 204 presented by China on effectively promoting the implementation of state safety programs. IP 216 presented by Algeria on national safety program. 277 and 278 presented by Indonesia on safety performance monitoring of air navigation services through web-based application. New efforts, safety integrated and state safety program respectively. So in line with the practices of ICAO divisional meetings, the IPs will not be presented. You can go through at a convenient time. Now, I'll open the floor for questions, contributions, comments on the working papers presented under agenda item 6.2.1. So the floor is open. We have Spain.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and good afternoon to everyone. We have some comments on the various working papers presented. First of all, 134 from Brazil. We support this. We believe it proposes an approach that could be a good example of smart regulation. We consider that we need to base ourselves on appropriate relevant data, which will contribute to supporting risk and impact analysis, which is solid and robust. And so we support the request from member states to share with ICAO and the rest of the member states practical experience that they've had in this field, and also the proposals to develop tools to implement these different safety risk management approaches. Turning now to 116, we are one of the co-sponsors of this, and we would like to place emphasis on the challenges that we've seen in our region as regards implementation of this concept of ALOSP, acceptable level of safety performance. And in particular, we'd like to point out that this term acceptable and how it's defined is influenced by political and social aspects, which can make it extremely complicated, or on the contrary, can make it actually be oversimplified. That's another risk. We believe that there needs to be a high-level indicator if we receive information that various safety performance indicators need to be improved. That would then be a high-level indicator. Safety performance can not just be measured on the basis of results. There's the question of the inherent processes as well. Therefore, we also request that there should be additional work on how we're going to actually define and measure safety performance and when it's actually acceptable or not. Turning now to Working Paper 147 from the Dominican Republic. We also support this. Change management is, of course, important, and it has been recognized in Annex 19 and Element 3.2 when it comes to the SMS framework, and also in the SMM, the Safety Management Manual, and we believe it's fundamental when it comes to changes that are real paradigm shift. For example, we believe we're going through a paradigm shift currently. We consider that the working paper very much points out that personnel need training on this. So we support the request being made to ICAO for there to be guidance developed to assist member states. But over and above that, we also believe that this is one of the new competencies that will be essential for safety management. So we need to go further with training and develop a complete qualification or competency-based program. And now on Working Paper 155 from Venezuela, we also support this. We consider that this is a good example of a regional initiative which takes account of the specific conditions in this region. Therefore, it certainly merits our support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Spain. We now invited the United States to take the floor. United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The United States strongly supports the proposals by Australia and New Zealand, Working Paper 77, regarding the need for target risk assessment to be incorporated in the development of standards and recommended practices, or SOPs. The development of SOPs is a critical function, and as the scope and complexity of the aviation system increases, the process by which these SOPs are created must be continuously scrutinized, adapted to accommodate future needs. The United States also supports Working Paper 116 to review the acceptable level of safety performance concept, taking into consideration the experience of the states that have sought to implement ALOPs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, United States. We'll now invite Sweden to take the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. Regarding Working Paper 239 presented by Republic of Korea, civil-military collaboration is key in all the aviation domain, as promoted in the EU ECAC Working Paper 39. Safety is one of the three fundamental principles of all of the military aviation strategy in the context of single European sky. Safety of air navigation will be promoted throughout the military community in line with international rules and regulations and without prejudice to national prerogatives regarding regulation of states' aircraft. Therefore, Sweden supports the idea of sharing information and exchanging the best practice, but the first step is to manage civil-military cooperation on safety at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sweden. Germany, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In relation to Working Paper 77, we go along what just has been said by the United States, so we are also supportive. With view to working paper 239 by the Republic of Korea, we echo what just has been said by Sweden. And we also echo what has been said by the Spanish delegation, in particular regarding working paper 116. And since I have the floor, I would also like to thank the Secretariat for all the work that has been put into establishing the SMI webpage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Germany. I now invite Cameroon to take the floor. Cameroon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Cameroon supports strongly the content of this work plan as well as the follow-up to follow. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Cameroon. Dominican Republic, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor.
Thank you, Chairman. We would like to take this opportunity to support Working Paper 77 presented by Australia and New Zealand. We'd like to thank Spain for supporting our working paper and also to ask the Secretariat whether the working paper 152 is going to be presented under 6.2 because the session is nearly coming to an end. Is it going to come up now or at another point in time? Working paper 152, I repeat.
Thank you, Dominican Republic. Secretary to respond to your question soon. I now invite Japan to take the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Japan supports Working Paper 77, targeted risk assessment, and also Working Paper 116 about WASP. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nigeria wishes to support the working paper 116 as presented by Australia, and we will urge ICAO to review the acceptable level of safety performance concept, taking into account the experience of states that have sought to implement ADOS. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigeria. I'll invite Nepal to take the floor. Nepal.
Nepal supports working paper 116 presented by Australia on behalf of a group of states, including other international agencies. Since more countries are embarking to implement the SSP in line with ICAO GASP objective, the implementation of SSP is still not an easy task. As outlined in this working paper, the concept of ALOS in SSP framework is clear in its objective in principle. However, it is not convincing in its implementation aspect. Establishing ALOS as a specific number versus stating ALOS as a reduction in number by certain percent can be a matter of discussions. So we also think it is important to revisit and review the ALOS concept. Similarly, Nepal also supports the working paper presented by Dominican Republic, working paper 152, in principle. Though this working paper, we understood that Air Navigation Director under the regulator itself is running ANSP in Dominican Republic, and same to apply in many other leading countries. Self-regulation is a quite difficult task, so the certification will not be effective in case of our own product and services. Yes, we can introduce QA system in such scenario. Since the separation is the policy issue to be decided in political level, and there is not any such binding provisions of ICAO in this regard. So it is quite a difficult task. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nepal, for your intervention. We invite Bolivia to take the floor. Bolivia.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Chairman. Bolivia wishes support Working Paper 147 presented by the Dominican Republic. We believe it's very important to have this type of change management training because we want to have continuous improvement, and there needs to be a real commitment from member states to really improve their aviation systems. And we see this as a good example for other member states. Bolivia also supports Working Paper 155 presented by Venezuela, and we applaud the work that's been carried out by Venezuela together with the directors of aviation safety to boost their common tools. This type of synergy and cooperative spirit really aligns up with the No Country Left Behind initiative, and it allows us to move ahead with these synergies and this constructive spirit. And we also back up the support that's been expressed by Spain, and we also would like to support Working Paper 134 from Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bolivia. I see no further requests for the floor. So now give the floor to the Secretariat for further clarifications and to respond to Dominican Republic's question on WP 152. I think it's tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one clarification to provide related to some ongoing work that ICAO has related to civil-military cooperation. It's just to inform the committee that there's an ongoing amendment to Annex 11 on safety risk assessment to be conducted for activities potentially hazardous to civil aircraft, which will reference the Safety Management Manual 4th edition. And also to inform that you will see in the 4th edition of the Safety Management Manual, we've tried to reinforce the importance of civil-military cooperation by highlighting that at the level of the SSP coordination group that's established, the members that should be included as part of that SSP coordination group do not stop with just the Civil Aviation Authority, should also include the Independent Accident Investigation Authority, as well as the military for the activities where they have a role to play in achieving the goals and objectives of the state safety program. So, and I support the idea that ICAO highlight this in other conferences and forums. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. And we've had a very interesting session. And I can see that all the working papers were fully supported, I mean, from WP 77, 134, 116, 147, 155, 239, receive a lot of support. So this will conclude sub-item 6.21. To summarize the discussions and conclusions, the committee agreed to the following points. The use of a risk-based or proportional risk approach should be included as part of the ICAO standards making process. Expressions such as targeted risk approach was used. Given the challenges faced by many states, the concept of acceptable level of safety performance, ALOS, requires further review. Almost all contributors talk about the need to review the ALOS. Now, also, the need for change management training should be addressed to ensure the successful implementation of the global plans. Then regional projects for SSP implementation can be an effective approach to achieve progress and support the No Country Left Behind initiative. Finally, civil-military cooperation should be addressed as part of the implementation of SSP. Thank you very much. It's almost 5 p.m. and we will have to break for the day. WP 152 Dominican Republic will be in the next batch. We will consider that tomorrow. So we will reconvene again in this same meeting room, conference room 2 at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow for us to start at 9:30 a.m. prompt. Please be on time and enjoy the evening. We have a wonderful weather today, so look around, have some fun, but remember to be here by 9:15. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Thank you. Nicholas, you survived. You did.